Hello, everyone. This is Brittany Samuelson with the Iowa After School Alliance, and I'm joined here with our guest today, Sarah Derry, and she is with the Governor's STEM Advisory Council. Today, she's going to be speaking a bit about the Iowa STEM Scale Up program, which is an awesome opportunity for schools and out of school time programs to implement some new exciting STEM programming and curriculum into their sites. Before I turn it over to Sarah, I just wanted to provide a reminder that we have our Impact After School registration live. So please make sure that you get registered for that conference, which will be taking place April 1st through April 3rd. So make sure you go ahead and get registered if you haven't done so already. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Sarah.
Thanks, Brittany.
Here.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. I do understand that some of you will be viewing this as a recording. So I went ahead and structured this really as a way to whet your palate for the STEM Scale Up programs. And then the last slide has a number of resources for you to follow up with to get a little bit more information. So this is really more of an introductory, but at the end, I'm really happy to take questions from those of you who are present live. To start off with, the Iowa STEM Scale Up programs are legislatively funded, and they were designed to provide free or low-cost training and materials to help overcome the barrier to start something new when it comes to integrating a new STEM curriculum into what you're already doing with your youth as we speak. The STEM Scale Up programs have a wide array of age levels and implementation models, so there's something appropriate for in and out of school. I know this is mostly an after school audience, and so there are some programs on our menu that are specifically to be implemented in school. I kept them in because I know you all have in-school connections as well. But I have them sort of highlighted in gray so that you can tell which ones are more appropriate for after school and not. So with that, I'm going to launch into a description of the programs that are on our menu right now, and know that there's more information at the end of the slide deck and the webinar so that you can follow up on the programs that spark your interest. I'm trying the arrow keys. No? Try this one. All right. So the first program that we're going to talk about is Pint-Sized Science. That is a pre-K through 12 program designed from the Science Center of Iowa, and they are the professional development providers. And it really covers a range of topics, and you will have an opportunity to select anywhere from like life science, taxonomy exploration, all the way to coding at a pre-K level, which is really cool. So there's some choice. The professional development is 1 day long, and the materials, you get to select your kit for what's most appropriate for your interests and your students' interests and needs. The next one is STEM in Action, and this is another kit-based program where they have, you are able to select 2 or 3 units that are anywhere with a range of pre-K through 5th grade. They're really, they're strongly implemented in out-of-school settings. We see a lot of libraries and after-school programs utilizing these because the units are pretty flexible. And the lesson plans are fairly scripted, so anybody can implement this programming because you can sort of take it in sort of that scripted manner, or if you're more comfortable being a little bit more flexible, the materials and the concepts are there, and you can integrate that into what you're already doing with students as much or as little as you want. Computer Science Fundamentals. This is actually a free curriculum that's available online from code.org anytime to anyone forever. The Scale Up Award provides the professional development for the implementers to get you comfortable with leading some of these computer science explorations, but it's also really heavy emphasis on you don't have to be an expert in computer science to help support youth through these explorations. It's very empowering for the educators. And the nice thing about this is there are no sustainability costs because once you're trained, that the curriculum is available forever for free. And the support is ongoing. There's a one-day training and then multiple touch points throughout the year for you to engage with the other teachers that are going through the same experience in and out of school providers. Keep wanting to use the arrow. Differentiated Math Centers is a group of like sort of 3 levels of activities that you set up as centers, all tied to giving students a really engaging, hands-on, positive experience with mathematics. This would be a really powerful tool in an out-of-school setting because they have the flexibility to really just use these math centers for some structured play and really to help change the narrative around mathematics in terms of being more positive and remembering that math is like a muscle, right? The more we practice it, the better we get at it. This is out of the same company, Hand to Mind, as the STEM in Action material. So if you're familiar with them as a provider, this is another program out of that same group. VEX IQ Challenge. So we have 2 new robotics programming opportunities. The VEX IQ and the VEX V5. I think I'll get to that one in a minute. But the VEX IQ is the lower grade level robot and materials. And again, this is a if you're familiar with FIRST Robotics, it's a similar concept where students are working together to create and program a robot that then competes in cooperation with other teams from around the community. At the IQ, the VEX IQ level, this lower level, the way that the students compete, if you choose to go to a competition, but competing is not required for implementing or receiving the Scale Up Award. So you can just apply to implement the curriculum and the materials and choose whether or not you go to competition that first year. But they're designing a robot and then programming it to play a specific game and game rules, and there's materials to help support coaches through that implementation. Okay, so Computer Science Discoveries is see how it's grayed out. It is an in-school implementation only, and this is designed to be a full course for 6th through 10th graders. Still run, it's the code.org curriculum that will be available online for free forever. It's just that the Scale Up Award provides support for educators to attend training. STEM Innovator is a program on entrepreneurial opportunities and developing entrepreneurial skills related to STEM and STEM careers. It is available both in and out of school, and they recommend that groups of educators apply as teams in a community. So if you have a collaboration with maybe a business and an after-school provider as well as an in-school opportunity, this would be a really cool thing to do as a team. And if you're familiar with our so let me stop. Backing up there, the STEM Innovator Program really is focused on professional development for the educators and to help prepare them to do this entrepreneurial coaching with their students, 6th grade through 12th grade. It has been, like, gotten some feedback from our STEM Best programs, which is another application that's open now for work-based learning experiences. Which you'll have to email me if you're interested in that. But if your community has been talking about doing more work-based learning experiences, consider a STEM Best application as well. And know that some of our past STEM Best implementing programs have used STEM Innovator as the professional development to help educators and their business partners think through what does work-based learning look like? How can we structure that for our students in a way that's really meaningful in the community? So the STEM Innovator is it's really more of a professional development for the grown-ups than it is a kit-based program, and it's a really helpful, flexible model for thinking through work-based learning in your community. Desmos Middle School Math is an 8th grade math curriculum. It is designed to be implemented in school, but it's this game-like, engaging opportunity that provides positive feedback. And again, it's something that we have on our menu to help change the narrative around giving students positive experiences and feeling valued in their mathematical experiences in the world. Bootstrap Data Science is another in-school implementation, but this is taking data sets, any data sets that students are interested, so they can take it from a local community context. It can be implemented in a social studies class. It can be implemented outside of the community if you're working on some of these entrepreneurial projects. It's a really cool way to combine programming and statistical analysis using whatever data the students are interested in, which is a really powerful engagement tool, but also from a culturally responsive education standpoint, because there's such a strong element of student choice. We're really excited about that Bootstrap Data Science program. Just know it's an in-school implementation. CASE Agriculture, Power, and Technology is it's an ag course, and it is also designed to be implemented in school only. But a really powerful integration of real-world agriculture along with the technical skills, which is a really powerful tool for Iowa and connecting to Iowa industry. Computer Science Principles, another in-school implementation, and this can be offered as an AP course. It is there's a full computer science suite, starting with the computer science fundamentals, which is available for out-of-school opportunities. Then moving up to the computer science discoveries, which is sort of that middle to 10th grade level, and then computer science principles is the highest level of that suite of programs. Project Lead the Way, Cybersecurity is another in-school program offering that we have, and it is designed to let students explore through some scenarios, specific scenarios, the tools and the concepts used in the cybersecurity world. All right, so I alluded earlier when we were talking about the VEX IQ robotics competition materials. The higher level, the high school level, is the VEX V5, which is it's a more complex robot with a variety of sensors that can be used to help put together the robot. And so therefore the coding and programming is more advanced for a higher level experience for students. Again, it's designed to be a cooperative robotics competition, but competing is not a requirement to implement this program. It's a really great motivating force and opportunity for the youth, but it's not a requirement. So that's a really brief overview of the programs that are offered on the menu. An important date to put in your calendar is that March 2nd at 5 p.m. is when the applications close. The applications are open right now. Okay, so this last slide is a number of supports that are available. The first one listed there is program summaries of each of these programs, and these one-page summaries include an overview of the program, the grade levels, what's expected of you as an implementer and what you can expect to receive from the program if you get the award. It also helps to outline as much as we know right now for the dates and the timing of the trainings. And so that if any of those programs I described piqued your interest, the next step would be to go read that one-page program summary. And Brittany said she was going to email out this slide deck to everyone. And when you get those you can just click on these links are all live. The next one down is the actual application for Scale Up. It is so simple. It really is contact information for where we would send the materials and who would be implementing, plus 3 short answer questions, and you're limited to 300 words on each of those questions. So literally in 900 words plus some contact information, this application is complete. The next link is all of the information you could kind of ever want to know about how to complete a scale-up application, including a timeline, frequently asked questions. We also have a 12-minute how-to video there, which takes you through both how to navigate the online application and also some support on those short answer questions. We go through what we're looking for when we ask each of the questions and the difference between what makes a good response and what makes a great response. So if you, the rubric is also on there. So if you want to know some really helpful tips on how to make sure that your those short answer responses are going to score really high with the evaluators. And you don't even have to sit down and watch that full 12-minute video if you don't need all of it. Right below the video on that page that's linked there is actually the times to skip forward to if you just want specific information. Say you already had navigated the application piece, but you just wanted the tips on how to make your responses go from good to great, you can skip the first 6 minutes of that video and skip right to that with the information that's on there. Another really powerful resource is to contact your regional manager. I represent the South Central region of Iowa, and my contact information is here. I'm happy to direct you to your regional manager if you don't know who that is, but the link that I have in there under the Contact Your Regional Manager takes you to a map of the state, and then below that map of the state is a picture and the contact information for all of us 6 managers. And especially for organization specific questions, we are here to help and support you. We are living and breathing STEM Scale Up right now, and we would just love to talk to you and help answer your questions. So those are a number of resources you can tap into to lower the barrier to even just applying, because we're really here to help support you. That's really all I have. If there are any questions, feel free to speak up now or type them into the chat. And if you are viewing this as a recording, if you come up with questions, just shoot me an email.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sarah. Well, you all think of your questions. I do have a couple to get us started. So first of all, you have a lot of great programs in this menu. How are they selected?
That's a great question. So these programs went through a really rigorous selection process. The first filter they had to go through was a national filter through an organization that we've partnered with called STEMworks. And they help us sort of get the word out across the country. But you'll notice there are programs from the Science Center of Iowa. We have some local programs as well. But they go through this national rigorous selection through this nonprofit research group called WestEd for the STEMworks database. And then they send us the rubric scores, and we have access to all of the application materials. And then there's a group of Iowa reviewers that goes through and basically looks at the portfolio of the highest scoring programs to make sure that we have a little bit of something for everything. During that portfolio review, we're looking at making sure that there's a good balance between grade levels, in school and out of school offerings. Some programs emphasize engineering, some programs emphasize mathematics and emphasize science more. And so we are also looking for a balance of that. So that's how we select the programs.
That's great. It's nice to know they're well vetted.
Mhm.
Yeah. Any other questions from those who are listening live?
Sarah, this is Crystal. I was wondering if you wouldn't mind just reiterating who's eligible to apply for these.
Sure.
Obviously, we work with a lot of out-of-school time programs,
Mhm.
and schools you had mentioned too. But I'm wondering about community partners. Would they be eligible to apply?
Yeah. So we award them to organizational groups, but education groups. Qualifying organizations include after school programs, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, Boys and Girls Clubs, libraries, homeschool associations. I mean, I think
That pretty much
that
covers
covers it. But if you have any specific questions about whether your particular organization qualifies, you can let me know right now and I'll tell you, or that's another one where you can email your regional manager. But our goal is to distribute these materials, right? So I think the only major stipulation we have is that in the application, the administrator who signs off has to sign off that the person who will be implementing this program with youth has done a background check as a part of employment, and we just do that to protect youth.
Yep. Yep. We know all about those for
Yeah.
after school. Yeah. I had another question, and that was about data and reporting requirements.
Mhm.
Are there any certain data you're looking for or reporting requirements with this program?
Yeah, I'm really glad you asked that. So we do have an evaluation that comes about in, well, we start really talking about it in March, and then in April we start asking our awardees to do these evaluations, and there are two parts to it. The first one is a teacher leader survey, where whoever has implemented this as the educator role, we're asking about your experience. It's your opportunity to give us feedback about not only what your experience with the program was in terms of questions of your self-efficacy, how you feel about being a facilitator of STEM programming before and after you've had the STEM scale-up experience, but also just feedback on the customer service of the program provider. So that's the teacher leader survey. It's something you complete online in the spring, and people have told me it takes anywhere between 10 and 40 minutes to complete. Kind of depends on how much you elaborate on those open-ended questions. And then the second part of that is a student, I'm trying to think what we call it, the student participation list. And this is something where we will work with any entity to get whatever we can for that data. In an ideal situation, that student participation list is something that gets uploaded directly to Iowa Testing. So you're submitting the list of students that were touched by that program. If an organization has access to that, we ask them to submit the student state-issued 7-digit student ID. Nobody from Iowa STEM or our third-party evaluators ever touch that data. It gets directly uploaded from the organization that has that data directly to Iowa Testing, and those two are sharing that information anyway. And then Iowa Testing turns around to us and has aggregated that data and says, okay, so of all the students who participated in scale-up programs, here's how they scored in math, science, and reading on the state-issued standardized tests. And compared to all students, which also includes the students who participated in Scale Up. And what we have seen over the years consistently is a correlation between students who participate in Scale Up and higher scores in math, science, and reading, which is really exciting. Now, I recognize there are some organizations that don't have access to that material or to that information. Libraries is one of them. I'm working right now with the Meskwaki Settlement School, who does not share that information. And so we still want your students to be impacted by the programs, and we'll measure what we can. And so depending on the organization, what we'll do is just work with whatever data you can provide for us. And if it's student names and whether they're male or female, that's really helpful to us. And so if there are any questions about how the evaluation, because I do get questions because everybody's trying to be a good steward of student private data. I actually usually tip this off to Erin Hayden, who is our head evaluator, to talk through, because she's the one that submits all of the internal review board paperwork to make sure that we are doing everything ethically in our data collection. But also, it's really helpful because it helps us tell the story and show the impact to the Iowa legislature, which funds this, to our private supporters who also help fund this, and then also helps inform our progress. We're not going to do something if we're not, we will change what we're doing if it's not showing that it's what's doing good for kids. So it's sort of I would say thank you in advance for your help and cooperation with that. And just know that we'll work with your organization to make sure that everybody's comfortable with the sharing that we've got.
That's great. I think most of our 21st century programs are pretty used to evaluation and collecting some of this information. So I don't think that will scare them off too much. It looks like we have a question in the chat, and that is, do you expect funding to continue in the future? If sites are not quite ready this year, but some of these programs align with a goal they have, can they expect to try this next year?
Yeah, I think you can expect to try it next year. We are funded legislatively on an annual appropriation. So there's always a disclaimer when we give the awards that it's contingent upon legislative approval. But this is one of the Iowa STEM is one of the very few programs that has full bipartisan support. And we have data that shows it's helping students improve their scores in math, science, and reading. And so it's a correlation. I don't know if I said proof. I mean, it's a correlation.
Yeah.
The data scientist in me has to put that out there. And so we have every reason to believe that it will exist in the future. So yes.
Great. Any other questions for Sarah? Okay, hearing none, I think we'll just go ahead and thank Sarah so much for taking the time to present on the STEM Scale Up program. I'm really excited for all of the after-school programs across Iowa that have this great opportunity to apply. And I hope that you all will consider doing so and reaching out to Sarah or your regional manager if you have further questions. Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And this is Crystal. I was able to call back on. If you have those materials that you'd like me to send out, I'm happy to send that out to the entire 21st Century Network. And I'll also include instructions that the information can be shared with additional partners or sites.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Great. Thanks, Crystal. Thank you all. Stay warm out there. Goodbye.